Hi everyone, it's Taheerah, and today I'm going to be creating this Get Well card. It's bright and fun and cheerful, so hopefully it will help the recipient to feel better. In terms of techniques, we're going to be talking about paper piecing images and also mixing and matching patterns, so let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is prepare our card base. I'm using this My Style blueprint cardstock from Clear and Simple Stamps, and I've already cut and scored it to make an A2 card. I'm going to be doing some stamping next, and I'm using this Paper Smooches stamp set called Healthy Vibes. I'm going to be using the Band-Aid image and also the sentiment later on. I'm going to be paper piecing those images, and I'm using a variety of pattern papers. The first one is this DIY boutique collection from Simple Stories, using the polka dot pattern from that. Next, the My Mind's Eye, Find Your Wings and Fly, Sky's the Limit collection, using the chevron print. And finally, this half-tone multicoloured pattern print from Crate Paper's Boys Rule collection. The first thing I'm going to be doing though is stamping these hearts that are on the band-aids, and for that I'm going to be using this pattern paper. I think it's from one of the Studio Calico card kits, can't remember which one. I'm going to be stamping the hearts using VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and I only want to use the heart portion so I can save some pattern paper, so I'm just taking a tissue and wiping off as much ink as I can so that I don't spoil much of my paper. Just getting all of that ink there. And then I'll be stamping right at the bottom of the paper. Sorry I'm out of frame here, I will move this up in a sec. There we go. You can see I've done a few different hearts ready to go. The next thing I'm going to be stamping is those band-aids in full, so I'll be pulling out those lovely pattern papers. So some hints and tips first of all if you're matching patterns. The first easy way to do this is to use papers from the same collection. This will help you to mix and match them as the collection's already been designed to go together. I'm just going to be stamping the first band-aid here. This is on the paper from Crate Paper's Boys Rule collection. And the next one I'm going to be using is that chevron print from the My Mind's Eye paper collection. Now if you're going to mix and match patterns from different collections, I would suggest just picking out colours that will go well together and mixing and matching your patterns so you have a mixture of large and small patterns that will help balance the design nicely without overpowering it. So I'm stamping the second band-aid here. And finally, I'm going to be moving on to that paper from Simple Stories collection. This is the lovely polka dot print. And finally stamping that third band-aid here. Just moving this into frame for you. There we go. The next thing is to actually trim those images out. I've got my Cutter Bee scissors ready to go. A couple of tips when you're actually trimming out shapes. A lot of people will give you this tip, and I will as well. It's a good idea to actually move your paper around rather than moving the scissors. This will just help give you a nice finished edge, and it also helps you to keep an even border around the images or to just trim them up nicely to the line as well. I've found that this has improved my cutting tremendously. I actually really enjoy fussy cutting and paper piecing. I know some people find it daunting, but for me it's very relaxing and I get a lovely result from it. It's really enjoyable. Sometimes better than die cutting even. Can you believe I said that? Okay, so to save you from having to watch me trim out all of those band-aids, here are some I prepared earlier. We've got those lovely 3 prints there. The next thing I'm going to be trimming out is all of those little hearts. Here's one I've already done, and here you can see me again just trimming some more of these hearts out. As you can see, I'm moving the paper around rather than the scissors, and this just helps me to get a really nice even cut. So here I am just finishing trimming out that second heart. I'm leaving a little bit of a border around each of the images just to add a little whimsical touch, a bit more of a handmade look than just trimming right to the edge. Here trimming out the third heart, and we are almost good to go with the next step. Sorry I'm off frame here. It was really difficult to try and get the framing right for this, and I will try and do better for you next time. Right, so next step is to adhere those hearts to those band-aids. I'm going to be using a product that people who visit my blog frequently will know a lot about. This is Pinflair Glue Gel. I can't sing the praises of this glue enough. It is a clear silicone-like adhesive, but unlike silicone adhesives, it has no odour. It is really, really strong. It adheres really well. It gives a very clear, lovely finish, and it's great for building custom dimension. You dispense it using a syringe. So here I am just doing that with the first heart and just putting that in position with my tweezers, pressing that down slightly. You'll see how I use this later on to give custom dimension when I adhere the band-aids. It's really, really good for this stuff. I use it on every single project and I can't sing its praises highly enough. So you can see it's very quick and easy to just dispense that glue with the syringe It helps you to build a custom dimension this way and gives you full control of where the glue is going and how much you're actually using. So just doing the third heart now, and you can see how very easy it is to use. And I don't even need to use very much of it to adhere the heart to the band-aid. So just getting that final one in position, pressing it down slightly just to push the layers together, and we're good to go. There's our 3 band-aids, looking very nice indeed. Right, so before I put these on the actual card, I'm just going to do some work on the card itself and stamp a sentiment on the inside. Usually this is the last thing on my mind when I make a card, but I'm trying to do this earlier on now. I'm using this stamp set from Paper Ink called Inside and Out Well Wishes, using this lovely sentiment on the back. It's really, really sweet, and I felt it was a lovely sentiment to use. So I'm going to be stamping this on the inside of my card using VersaFine Onyx Black ink. Just getting my card base ready, my stamp is all ready to go, and I'm just going to ink that up and stamp it. Yeah, as I was saying, usually this is the last thing I do after the card's prepared, and inadvertently this is where I would accidentally, stamp the sentiment wonky or drop the block on my card and ruin it. So I'm really trying to make an effort to do this a bit earlier on while I remember. Just getting some good pressure on that stamp there and lifting that off. That's ready to use. I can move this out of the way and start on the next step. So I'm going back to the front of the card now. I'm going to be preparing the panel that goes on the front. I'm using this wonderful orange pattern paper. I think it's from another Studio Calico card kit. Can't remember which, I'm sorry about that. I'm just going to be trimming that to fit the card front, just slightly smaller in fact. So I'm pulling out my paper trimmer. Apologies for being off frame here, but I'm going to place my pattern paper onto the platform and line this up at what should be 4 1/8 of an inch. My paper trimmer is magnetic, so I'm just using my magnetic ruler to hold that in place while I make the cut. And then just moving this around and making the second cut at 5 3/8 of an inch. Again, just placing my magnetic ruler in place to keep that paper from shifting. So with my cuts done, just going to move my trimmer out of the way, and I actually just have a quick check of this paper and look at it against the first card to make sure that it's the right size. You'll see later on that I did make a blunder with this anyway. Oh well. So I'm going to be doing some splatter on the paper next. I'm using this Perfect Pearls Mist in Brushed Pewter. And as you saw in my last video, I'm not going to bother placing this in a box or anything. I'm just splattering straight onto the paper and just making sure that I get enough of that splatter. I just only want a little bit, but that should just about do it. So with my splatter all done, the next thing I want to do is just to line up my band-aids on the paper itself so I can get an idea of the position before I stamp my sentiment. So just getting my 3 band-aids and looking at my sentiment there, again from the Healthy Vibes stamp set. I'm going to place the band-aids roughly where I think they will go and just ink up my sentiment. I'm sorry, I've been so badly out of frame in this video. I will do better next time. When I don't have a stamp positioner, I actually just use a gridded acrylic block and I just line that up with the edges of the paper, make sure it's straight, and then I stamp that in position. Sorry for my head being in the way, had to get a good view of what I was stamping. There's my sentiment all done, stamped in VersaFine Onyx Black ink. And the next thing I'm going to do is adhere that pattern paper straight to my card base before I adhere the actual band-aids. I'm using score tape for this. I don't get on very well with tape runners. I always seem to mess them up somehow. Score tape seems to be my go-to tape. But you have to be very sure about what you're going to be adhering with it, because once it's down, that cardstock or that paper is not coming back up. So I'm just trimming the score tape to be the right size. I think I've used the 2.5 and the 1.5 inch tapes here. Just peeling off that backing paper. And a tip for lining up papers when you adhere them to a base, I use my Score Buddy and I put the card right in the corner of the buddy and I line up and butt the paper up to that and then push it and adhere it in place. So you can see that adhered nice and straight, but as you can see, here's my blunder. I actually didn't measure very well and I've left an extra 1/8 of an inch on the width of my pattern paper, but never mind. So I'm going to be using Pinfair glue gel again to adhere those band-aids in place. As you can see, it's very easy to dispense with the syringe. Just putting my band-aids back on the paper again to work out where they're going to go, and just comparing them with the original card. So the first one's just going to go slightly down like this, and the glue takes a little while to dry, so you've got some time to just perfect the position as you want. Next one, I'm going to be adhering with a bit more dimension, and here you'll see where the glue gel comes into its own. So I've put the first ring of adhesive like so, and I'm actually going to just put a second layer of adhesive straight on top of the first one. This will help give it twice the height of the previous band-aid. Just going to adhere that in position there. Not going to be very easy to see, but that second band-aid is actually higher up than the first one. It just gives a really nice finished look. I'm moving on to the third and final band-aid now, and here you'll just see me unclogging my syringe a little bit. This is because I didn't put the top on it properly, so I'm just unclogging that using a pin. I've had to do it a couple of times just to get that flow nice and clear. Just putting on the last of that adhesive. You see I had to unclog it a few times. This is my mistake rather than the glues, I'm afraid. Just getting that over a good sort of line of adhesive on the final band-aid there, and just going to again faff with the glue. I've got about as much as I can out of it now, and I'm just going to be adhering that in place. So that's the third and final band-aid. My card is now done. I'll be showing you some stills of the finished card for you to take a look at. Thanks so much for joining me for the second video. Please do give me some feedback on how these are going, and thanks for joining me. Bye!